We will go ahead and get this meeting started and called to order at 4:01. Are there any announcements that need to be made? I don't have any, and I don't see Troy Houtman on, so we'll roll right into public comment. I don't think we had any emails for public comment prior to noon today. Is that correct, Rowan? Okay. So we can roll into the approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to read and review the minutes from October 20? Well, couldn't have been October 27th, right?
That's correct.
That's what I'm seeing on my agenda here.
I'd move to adopt.
Sorry, go ahead, Dale.
I'd move to adopt.
I'll second. We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Stick with me for just a second. We got to kill a dog. I noted in the minutes from October 27th that there was not a quorum, and the minutes from September were not approved. You want to take a motion to approve those minutes while you're at it?
So October 27th was not our last meeting.
Yeah, Niall's right. I'd move to adopt the September minutes.
And I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. All right, new items for consideration. First and foremost, I want to welcome our two new golf board members, Nyle Gilmore and Kyle Ellison. I think we can, I've never done this on Zoom before, but I've seen it done in, boardrooms and other, meetings. So if we want to go around the room, if you will, hypothetically, and kind of introduce ourselves, we'll let Kyle and Nyle go last and explain a little bit about what they do and why they're passionate about Wichita golf. So I'll start. I'm Eddie Fonestock. I'm the chair of this committee. I also sit on the park board and chair that as well. Long time Wichitan golfer, played golf in college, and love the game. So it's kind of what I'm about. And so, yeah, we'll move on to Dale.
My name's Dale Goter. I'm retired. I was the city's lobbyist for my last 8 years. I've been a journalist most of my rest of my life, working in the State House and working for public television. I'm an avid golfer. My first year after retiring, I played 220 rounds of golf on our public courses, so hope that may be a record. I have taught Nyle Gilmore everything he knows about golf. So congratulations on joining our group.
All right, let's go to Greg.
Greg Ferris. I've been on this committee since 1905, I think. Love golf and just care about public golf and hope we can continue to make it improve.
All right, Richard.
Yeah, my name is Richard Schodorf. I am, my goal is to become an amateur golfer. I'm not there yet. And I'm the general counsel for a company called Security First Title. I should be retired. A lot of people think I am retired, at least that have worked for the company. So, and I do my best to cause trouble on this committee. It's part of why I was put on. So, looking forward to welcoming both of our new members. I know Nyle pretty well. And could you repeat your name one more time? Yes. The other new member besides Kyle? Nyle.
Nyle and Kyle, yeah.
It's Nyle and Kyle. Okay, cool. Welcome both of you. I love new blood on the committee.
We'll jump over to Troy Hendricks.
My name is Troy Hendricks. I'm the golf manager for the city of Wichita. I moved to Wichita in 2001 to open Auburn Hills as the golf professional there, and then moved into a golf management position in 2013, and have been doing this since then. I've been in the golf business in one way, shape, or form for the last 44 years, as either working as the head golf professional or assistants at various clubs across the country. So I grew up in Hutchinson and was happy to move back to Wichita to open up Auburn Hills. So
we'll jump over to Rowan if she wants to hop in. Awesome. Nyle, you want to take it away?
Sure. Do I need to push this button or something?
We can hear you just fine and see you.
Okay, good. My name is Nyle Gilmore, and as a matter of fact, I was a member of the Golf Advisory Committee about 10 or 12 years ago. I was appointed on the committee by Councilmember Ferry, and when she retired and my wife joined the city council was when I left the committee. So I'm a retired or retreaded golf committee member, I guess. Very happy to be here. Hope to contribute and look forward to our endeavors in improving Wichita public golf.
Awesome. Happy to have you aboard. Kyle, take it away.
Cool. Well, my name is Kyle Ellison. I'm executive director for a nonprofit in town called Real Men, Real Heroes. Super excited to be a part of the group. Happy to meet everybody here. I've been golfing, I'd say, strong for the last probably 2.5, 3 years. I love the game. It's one of the most frustrating games I ever played in my life. But it is, I don't know, it's fun. I enjoy all the elements. I'm excited to be a part of this group because I think the thing that I love most about golf, besides the competition part, is just that it encompasses all the things that I like as far as outside and, water here and there, the trees and, drinks and cigars, if you will, in different, aspects. And so just really excited to be a part of this group and add any value that I can. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. We're excited you're a part of it as well. So let's jump in to the golf system review with Troy.
thanks, Eddie. As we talked about yesterday in the park board meeting, our rounds were up significantly for November. We had a little over 10,000, almost 11,000 rounds for the month of November, compared to 6,145 in 2019. We had a very good month financially. Our revenue was up to 302,000 for the month, compared to 161,000 in 19. Rounds are up year to date, even with the courses having been closed for earlier in the season due to COVID-19. We're up 12% over 2019. We're up 15% over 2018, 8% over 2017, and 4% over 2016. Auburn Hills has exceeded 35,000 rounds, which is fantastic because when the course was scheduled to open and all this for performa and everything was being done, they were hoping that course would play about 36,000 rounds a year. We're going to come in probably just a little under that with the weather kind of turning against us here the last few days. So we'll probably finish under 36,000, but this is only the second time since it opened that has exceeded the 30,000 rounds mark. As I said in the email that we sent out, Mcdonald has exceeded the 30,000 mark for the third time in the last 10 years, which is fantastic. And Auburn Hill, or Sim and Texas Consolver continue to be the workhorses for the golf division. They both are over 35,000 rounds and are going to be pushing that 40,000 round mark at the year's end. And they probably would have gotten closer to going over it had we not been closed for that period of time. Our revenue is up 1% over 2019, despite the closures. The golf division has surpassed the revised budget by a little more than $526,000 at the end of November. We are a little behind the original budget that was originally adopted by $141,000. December is normally not a high revenue month based on previous years. It's usually a loss. In the past, we've averaged a loss for the month of November of around $100,000. I can tell you that through the first 13 days, we've already exceeded last year's revenue for the whole month. So we should be okay if we get a few more good days in this year. So we've had a good month start off so far this year. Our expenditures are down $500,000 from last year and are projected to fall below the original budget. As I stated yesterday, Mr. Howman had to go visit with City Council last week and asked for some additional spending authority because we'd exceeded what the revised expense budget was. And so we had put some spending controls in place with our staff at the golf courses to try to manage where we're at and get a good estimate of what we needed to ask for from council. And we got that spending authority approved last week. So those limits have been lifted from the golf staff. So we are having a very good year, despite all the troubles and everything that we started out with. Concession sales are up for the division for the month of November by 67% over 2019's numbers. Mcdonald led the way at 97%, Auburn Hills at 92%, Texas Consolver at 72%, and Sim at 32%. Our greens fees are up. When you look at the information that I sent to you, when you look at greens fees for the golf division, just in people coming in and paying a greens fee, for 2020 we had $112,853 paid in November, where last year we had $77,111. So that's up $35,000 over last year. And then when you calculate in the increase in membership fees, that's another $77,000 that we didn't have last year. So we are up 147% over last year. Again, Auburn Hills kind of led the pace there. They were up 211%. McDonald's up 175%. Sim 130%, and Texas Consolver 107%. Start fees continue to be strong. They were up 87% in 2020 over 2019. And then the driving range was up 250% for the month. I know when I went by Auburn Hills earlier, not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, they had the driving range was covered from one side of the range all the way to the other side with people hitting balls at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so everybody's, all the new people that have come back, the new golfers and those that have come back to golf are all out practicing and trying to improve their game. So the ranges are up and doing very well. So we've had a good month of November, and moving into December and the end of the year, I think we're going to have a finish in a good spot. So,
awesome. Dale? You're on mute, Dale.
Okay, Troy, thank you for that recent report. That is kind of what we've been looking for over these last few months. I really like that comprehensive identification of every revenue source and the comparison year to date. That's really useful in understanding how the system works. And so thank you for that. And I hope that you keep that as an update on a regular basis going forward. I do have a question on the regular green fees. We had record rounds, but our regular green fee revenue is down $300,000 about 280,000 from 2019. Membership revenue is up quite a bit. If we're setting records on numbers of rounds, does that mean that it's just the membership people consuming those rounds and we're really not tapping into the regular green fee potential?
No, that is not what that means. Let me pull up a different spreadsheet here. I thought, and I'll be able to answer that. At the end, when you're talking about regular greens fees, I'm talking about those that come in and pay an 18-hole greens fee for either weekday, weekend, or 9-hole greens fee, weekday, weekend. At the end of June, our regular greens fees were down compared to 2019 by 9,215 rounds. And the reason those rounds were down was because we were closed. So that had a significant impact on our regular play. Since we've reopened and back to 10-minute tee times at all the courses starting here in July, we have, in the last 5 months, because you're talking about 6 months that we were down 9,200 rounds, in the last 5 months, we've had 10,907 regular greens fees, more greens fees paid than we had in 2019. So we've made up what our shortfall was in regular greens fees. You also have to remember that in previous years, with the past plan that we had, for example, when Niles came in to play golf, he paid a $12 greens fee for his senior pass. That the new membership, they aren't paying anything. So in the past, we also were collecting that additional $12 that was included in those greens fee numbers that I'm talking about, or what's in that spreadsheet that I sent to everybody this morning.
It was my understanding in past years, looking at your rounds revenue report, that the membership fee income was broken down by the initial fee plus the copay. That was all added together in rounds revenue report. So are you saying you counted, well, that aside, I still see a 300,000 or 200 and some thousand difference in total regular green fee revenue. Are our regular green fee numbers of people who paid regular green fees down similarly then? I guess that would have to be the case.
We're up in membership fee and membership play. We're up about 15,000 rounds there. Our regular greens fees are pretty close to being the same as last year. Let me pull up a different.
No, you're down 200 and some $1,000.
When you're comparing to 2019, you are correct.
Okay, I'm not trying to quibble, but I'm just trying to understand how you get to the number and what that means. On its face, it looks like we've lost some regular green fee income. The membership thing seems to be doing really well. That number's up. But as a strategy going forward, a marketing strategy, are we going to focus on trying to increase regular green fee revenue? Or are we going to put our money on expanding the membership thing? What is your plan for next year?
When I look at where we're at in regular greens fees through the end of November, we are at 65,689 regular greens fees. When I look at regular greens fees for the total year of 2019, we were at $69,425. I mean, not dollars, I mean 69,425 rounds. So we're down because we don't have a full year in that we're comparing to here. So we're going to still have some green fee rounds and money that comes in here in November.
But Dale, you also have to consider that all those pass rounds, every time you played that 200 times, you paid. So those rounds were counted as green fee rounds. So
well, they were counted as revenue that went into. They were greens fees. You're right, correct, Greg, because
all those green fee rounds.
No, Greg, on the rounds revenue report here that we've had the last several years, the membership fee is one column, the copay is another column, and there's a separate item then for regular green fees.
That's the money, or is that the number of rounds?
That's the money, and the number of rounds are breaking out as the number of times the number of memberships sold is included. So no, the membership copay has never been a part of the regular green fee number.
Yes,
But not, you're talking dollars. I'm talking about just
Dollars.
numbers of green
I'm
fees.
talking dollars. Yeah, actually, that dollars.
yes, the regular, when you came in and paid your co-pay greens fee, that was rung up under greens fees, and it went into greens fees in the past.
No,
The
but in
sheets you're ta-
I'm sorry, in your rounds revenue report, though, you don't do that. You break them out. You break out the copay as a separate line item. You have the total amount paid for the startup fee, the initial fee.
You're
And
talking
you got
about,
yeah.
you're talking about the sheet that I've put together at the year's end, which has, it says, I think on the side, probably 2019 rounds and revenue summary. Yes, I broke that out for one specific reason, and that was so that we could see what our actual revenue that came in for memberships or the season passes was. I mean, when the system, when we're ringing it up, the sale of the pass, that's why if you're looking at the 2019 one there, it shows the sale of passes brought in $192,000 roughly in pass sales. And then the copay greens fees, and I'm sorry, Niles and Kyle, you guys don't have this information.
I would say I don't think I see the same documents that you're working off of.
But then when everybody came in and paid their copay greens fees, that total greens fees was $454,000 roughly last year in 2019, and that $454,000 went into that total greens fee number. When you're looking at that spreadsheet I sent you this morning that we've provided to the manager and to council, so when you look at 2019's greens fees on there, which last year was $1,934,000, that included that $400,000 in copay greens fees from pass holders. That is not being paid this year, so that's why when you look at greens fees, it is down that $300,000, but we're going to be up now that we've got, like we talked about, as Greg and Eddie, you'll recall, and Richard, that when we were talking about transitioning into this new membership, 2020 was going to be a transition year, and those numbers wouldn't be set, I guess is the best way to put it. So let me move in, let me skip a little bit here and go to, for example, this month of December, which is not included in the numbers I've sent you. We billed for memberships a total of $78,000. So if you take that $78,000 and if we keep the 1,167 members that we have for that next 12 months and bill approximately that same amount of money, then we're going to end up billing for memberships approximately $936,000, which is going to be $300,000 more than what we brought in under the previous pass program when you're able to compare the full year under that pass plan compared to the last year of the previous membership plan, which was 2018. That's
all I'm asking is that there be a reconciliation of this rounds revenue report, which you've issued every year for the last 4 years, that breaks down membership income, regular green fees, membership copay, and it's different than the numbers you've got on your spreadsheet here. The numbers don't match up. I just want to see a consistency so we understand what's going on.
The spreadsheet that I'm putting together is pulled directly from our point of sale system. How they migrate into the accounting software that the finance uses, there's, as Mark Manning would tell you, they don't always line up everything and it's going to match penny to penny.
Well, I'd like to answer one, something that Dale said. He said, looking at trying to market next year for the regular green fees. And what I thought that in the second year, we were really going to try to market for the full memberships, because that's where the growth it would be in trying to get people who are members of country clubs to understand that this is a heck of a better deal. and to be able to grow that portion, because we make a lot more money off of that than we do the seniors. But if you're looking for growth in the system, it would be keeping the people that we have now that have tried us during the last year for a variety of reasons, including COVID, and to market to the people who are paying a whole lot more at the country club.
Okay. Any other questions for Troy on the review?
On the tournament income, that's really a low number. I looked at the Sand Creek budget on the Newton City website. They almost lead the nation in tournaments. Our revenue is really a fraction. Is there a plan to, how many tournaments are on the book right now for the next year? And is there an opportunity to do more?
Okay, you're looking at the line item that says golf tournaments. That is the golf tournaments that we host. The Shamrock Scramble, those events that we host at our courses that we put on, that's not revenue from outside tournaments.
So how many outside tournaments do we have booked for next year?
I would have to check with the golf pros because they're the ones that book them, and I know that they haven't booked very many so far because everybody's up in the air about what they're going to be doing. I know that at Auburn Hills, I think he had 12 tournaments this year. He had a lot that canceled because of the situations with COVID and social distancing and all those things, which is, those are all rung up under, depending on how the format is, they're rung up under regular greens fees, and that's where they go in. So they keep track of that information separately.
What are the rates for those outside tournaments per player with food and drink?
The golf committee, trying to think when this was, in 2014 or 2015, the rates used to be a flat shot for, say, for a shotgun tournament was X amount of dollars up to 144 players. And if you had 100 players, you still paid that same rate. If you had 80 players, you paid the same rate. And it was decided then to go to a per person fee, and that the per person fee is $5 more than what our regular cart and greens fee is. We charge you a regular greens fee and we charge you a regular cart fee. And we charge you the $5 more is used to buy prizes and merchandise in the golf shops for you to be able to give out for your tournaments, which is optional. They don't have to take that. So it's just rung up as regular carts and greens fees through a tournament package through our system. So it's either the $27 or the $32 at Auburn Hills. Part of the reason we had the different rate of at Auburn Hills when I was there, it was at $3,000 for a weekday, $3,500 on the weekend. And part of the reason for that was you have to have the golf course cleared for a shotgun tournament, so you're losing more players than what you can put on the course if it's a regular tee time event. But the golf committee a few years back, in order to compete with area facilities, thought we needed to go to a per person fee. I think we have that all listed on our website. I don't have that right on top of my memory right now, but I'm looking real quick here.
Well, just as a closing thought, it really is amazing that we've gone from a projected $500,000 deficit that Mark Manning identified to the council in the first and fourth quarter reports last year. And now we're looking at 500,000 over in revenue. And I think there was 500,000 in budget cuts. It's quite a different picture than we've been seeing. I don't know what that means for the future, but
it means we were busy. Once we got back to normal play, we were busy. We played almost 30,000 rounds just in the month of August between the 4 golf courses. So.
Well, just to bring the two new members up to date, the city imposed a 1 month penalty or furlough on all golf division employees, took away 1 month's pay to balance the budget. The budget is now $470,000 in the black, which is, for some of us, Mr. Ferris has expressed some concerns about this as well, that just seemed really inappropriate for the city to penalize those good workers that made that happen. We haven't gotten any traction on that. Apparently those furloughs extend into next year, which makes no sense at all, but hopefully that'll be revisited in the future and those folks will be taken care of.
And I think we all asked our park board representatives and took it upon ourselves to email each city council member and basically asking to rethink that. So there has been, it wasn't for a lack of effort on our part. So I think we met our voices heard. Hopefully that will change next year. Should we continue to operate in the black. It is currently budgeted, from what I understand, that the furloughs would continue into next year with the hopes of that changing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
And I guess this would go to Troy, but the numbers that you guys have been working with, or the spreadsheets that you're working on, I don't think I'm working off the same numbers. I weren't sent the same information, so I feel a little bit kind of like I'm trying to keep up with something I can't see. But if you could ask and look in and see if maybe that got inadvertently admitted and sent after this meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Do you have, Troy, do you have the emails for Nyle and Kyle?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Kyle, did you get the right information? I didn't see who was on the email chain there, but.
The spreadsheet that I sent out this morning, that is a spreadsheet that we were asked to put together following last week's council meeting. And we put it together and presented it to the manager, which he shared with the council members. They had asked where we were at revenue-wise compared to previous years. So that's the only thing that these two gentlemen have been sent. What Dale is asking about is a spreadsheet that I've put together at year end, usually in January or February following year end, which breaks down past revenues, regular greens fee revenues, and kind of gives us a synopsis of what percentage of our greens fees are coming from passes, what percentage are coming from regular greens fees. So we know kind of what those are, and then where are we generating the majority of our revenue? Is it coming from pass holders, or is it coming from regular greens fees? And then we throw in the other discounted greens fees, which are any greens fees that are not a regular greens fee or a pass holder fee. So we knew that we would, with the new pass membership plan, we would be losing some greens fee revenue, but we knew we'd be making it up in the income for season passes. When you look at that spreadsheet that was just sent out, when you look at season pass revenue for the sale of passes last year, it was $409,000. This year it's $614. We still have one more month of billing to do on those season passes. And when we do that, that will then move us up to $692,000 in pass revenue. So that's making up that difference in what greens fees were that we have lost from people coming in and making that co-pay payment on greens fees. So those should all average out. If that makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
Okay, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but can we get a memberships update, how we're doing, what we expect to see? Are we running any Christmas, holiday, promotion stuff?
What we're doing for the holidays is the same thing that we've been doing in the past. As we sell gift certificates, we promote those. Those are, it's amazing. It always was amazing when I was at Auburn Hills, the wives that would come in and buy gift certificates for their husbands, and they would say, "Oh, this is all he wants. He doesn't want anything else. He just wants a gift certificate to play golf." And I kept telling you, that's not a bad thing. So we're doing a special. We're doing promoting our gift certificate sales like we're doing also with through recreation for the holidays, gift certificate sales for programming, and we'll sell probably $30,000 to $40,000 worth of gift certificates in the month of December, which is a phenomenal number. But that doesn't become revenue to the golf system until those gift certificates are redeemed. They go into a liability account. And then once they're redeemed, then that becomes actual revenue.
Okay.
I'd like to note that comparing apples to apples, your membership income for this year is stated at $614,000, right? That's the total from the memberships.
Yes.
Just to let you know where we are with regard to what we were doing before, the total revenue from the season pass system in 2018 was $623,000. So we haven't quite matched what we've done before. There's a lot of work to be done. I like the idea that you've locked in the income, but so far the season pass thing has not exceeded what we were doing before. There's some work to be done there.
When you look at year end 2018, we had 1,004 season pass holders. That's what we presented to council when we went to them and explained the transition into this new membership plan. Right now we have 1,167 current members, and the breakdown for that is 152 adult memberships, 107 couple memberships, 75 junior memberships, 660 senior memberships, 173 young adult memberships, which totals that 1,167. If you were to look at the same breakdown for the 2018 regular passes, we had 82 adult passes, 22 couples passes, 28 junior passes, 827 seniors, and 45 young adult passes. And you are correct, that number that we brought in for the sale of passes and the co-pay greens fees was $623,000. But you also have to remember that when you go back and look at January of this year, how many memberships did we have? This has been a growing year. The membership has been growing throughout the season, and we're now up to that 1,167. We discussed and have discussed numerous times that this year it would be difficult to compare this year to past years because you had to have that membership plan grow and get to what it needed to be. That's why I stated earlier that if we end up with the 1,167 members for a 12-month period, you'd be looking at $936,000, or almost no more than $300,000 more than what we brought in 2018 off that membership plan.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand that. That's a good point. So if you took the number of members you have now, assuming they all continue through the year making their payments, your total amount is
all on their membership.
And so your total is how much again? What's the big number you said?
$936,000.
Okay, and that would be great if that holds true. Would be a good success story. So
that's why we said that first year in transitioning in, it would be difficult to actually compare apples to apples. You're comparing apples to bananas. But now that we'll have a better idea because we should be able to pull those revenue numbers once we hit August, because that'll be one full year of the membership plan and be able to maybe go back and compare it to one full year, the last year of the other membership plan to see where we're at.
Well, Mr. Chairman, at some point, maybe we could schedule a session where we look at that. There's a school of thought that this is grossly underpriced. I'm playing golf for $4 a round. That's not right. I should be paying more. And is there a way perhaps that we can weigh in on that to help maybe make an adjustment that enhances our revenue? It's a successful program, but it's really underpriced at this point. I don't know. With all what's on the table, maybe it's not the time to do it, but
I wouldn't mind scheduling a meeting to look at that. However, Dale, as you stated, you might set a record for most rounds played in a year. And how much money are you spending on concessions or carts, or, on average, are you spending additional money when you play every time?
I do spend more than before, but there's another fellow that I think the Auburn Hills Men's Club president said he's playing for $2 a round. Because he's got a couples membership, but we're the extreme. You're right, we're the extreme. But nonetheless, we are consuming tee times that might otherwise be sold at a higher rate, and that's fine. I'm happy with it. But
I'm in the same situation. Only time I ever ride is if it's really, really hot, and I would have done that last year anyway. So you're getting nothing extra from me in concessions or in. Now, I think when you look at the numbers of carts and when you look at the numbers of concessions, they're all up. So it is working, but I think it is underpriced and it's way overvalued. And I don't know what that number is, but there are 2 or 3 little tweaks you could make and guarantee that the golf system would have adequate revenues without even if you had a little dip in rounds. If you have bad weather, those kind of things, because you'll have those revenues coming in even in bad weather. So I would like to figure out how to look at those numbers and see if that's really the right numbers.
If I may throw in, first of all, I have talked to a lot of seniors because I do play a lot of golf also. And what they're telling me is that the fact that they don't have to come and pay anything when they ride, it allows them to ride carts and to spend money. And I really believe that if we keep our eye on the ball and the idea that, yes, it is a value, but if you try to capture every single dollar and try to figure out what that number is that is going to start turning people off, rather than riding the wave as it is right now and staying constant, we have made we've created a program. The people are responding that they like it, and we're up rounds, which means that we're a benefit to the community, number one. And number two is, if we continue on this path, and if we can improve concession sales, which is another question, is when we're going to be allowed to do that, and really have enough money to do a marketing plan to try to grow the membership program, I don't think it's the right time to start raising the numbers, the fees on the people once they are telling us that they are liking them and that and it's working.
Yeah, Richard, my point is that we should talk about it. We should make sure, and I don't think right now we need to do it because not everybody has all the numbers and there's a lot more information we'd need. But I think we should evaluate, and if we come away and say, no, we're good, then we come away and say we're good. But, if we say, well, if we tweak it a little, it's not going to impact the number of memberships, yet it is going to increase the number of revenues, and then that's good. So, I think there are some things that can be done. This year was an anomaly in a lot of ways. I mean, people are playing more golf because they're not doing anything else. We have to make sure that continues. But the other side of it is you're selling a product that has a limited number. You can't make more tee times. You can't grow that number of tee times. So if you are using all of those tee times for guys, no offense, like Dale and his buddy, or in some cases me, then you have lost some things. So those are the things we need to evaluate. I'm not saying we have to do it. I think we should, but I think we should certainly look and do some kind of an evaluation.
Dale, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm going to teach you how to use this yet.
Oh, God, no. I got a noisy dog, so I'm trying to spare you the schnauzer. But no, I totally agree with you. And I do like to think with our new members on board, Kyle and Nyle are bright people and would welcome to this discussion. But what we haven't done as a golf advisory committee, and all the time I've watched it, is had a regular presence in these decision-making thing where there's a process where we discuss this, not just randomly like this, but it's actually plugged in where we help guide and the point Richards makes are valid, but as you said, Greg, there's a time to do it and it needs to be done. It doesn't mean we need to change anything, but at least we're a part of the process. Otherwise, we're be as irrelevant as the Golf Advisory Committee has been for the last 3 or 4 years. This could be different. Thank you, Rudy. He seconded that motion, by the way.
Well, I don't think we have been irrelevant because we've created a system that seems to be working.
Well, that's arguable, Richard. Our revenues are down $1 million from a dozen years ago. We've got a lot of work to do, but it's encouraging that we're down this path. I'm not going to argue about that. That's just as we go forward, get these new guys involved. I've seen Nyle at work in the legislature with numbers. He's a genius. It's great to see a young minority golfer on this place, and I hope that's a growth area for us. So we got a bright future if we use it correctly. So.
Yeah. And it's certainly a balancing act that we need to keep an eye on. I don't know what the perfect time is, whether it's, a year into this membership program, 2 years, whatever you guys want to see. I think it is something that, when it gets to the point of for lack of a better word, Dale and your buddy, you're basically, you're taking tee times from guys that would be paying more that's a case by case basis, but that's something that we got to keep an eye on and be careful about that. Because if it gets too large, then we are going to give up some revenue. And I think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that in the first year, the first 2 years of this. So to Richard's point, I agree that we found something that speaks to Wichita golf. It's working, it's growing the game. And again, it is, this year has been an anomaly, but this membership program, I've heard more people talk about it than, I've been around the game of golf for quite a long time. And this is the first year that I've had people come up to me and say, this membership deal is pretty darn cool. So I don't want to tweak it just yet, but I do think it's important that we keep our eye on it.
To that end, could it be possible, Mr. Hendricks, that we would see on our regular meetings a report of the weekend tee time usage, so that we know how many of those prime time tee times are used by membership people and how many are being used by regular green fee? If we saw that on a regular basis over a course of time, it might help us and guide us to a good decision. Can we get that?
Let me look in to see what kind of report I can run from out of our system. I'm sure I can.
Okay.
And one last thing is, and I mentioned it just a minute ago, is when the finance did their report to the city council, they said that one of the areas that really had potential for growth, and that was concessions. And I still believe that we're way underperforming in what we could sell if we approached it differently and upgraded our facilities and our number of products we sell.
Well, let me ask our new members this, Nyle and Kyle. When you use one of our 4 courses, what do you look for in terms of concession when you go in there to the bar or to to the dining area, are you looking for a hot dog and a beer, or are you looking for something more extravagant, let's say?
Well, my own opinion, it'd be most of the time if I'm going to the concessions after the first 9, what I'm looking for is something I can get quick and get out of there, like a hot dog and a soft drink, and could turn around and get back out on the course quickly. Before or after a round, expanded lunch opportunities like they have out at Auburn is kind of nice. I know that they had at one time at the end of our senior rounds, which were on Wednesday morning, that they'd have a different menu item that was a special where you get 2 tacos and a Coke or something like that. But I don't think most of us go out there with the idea in mind that we're hungry, want to go get something to eat or drink. We're looking for convenience and fast turnaround.
Sure.
I'd say for me.
I'm sorry, Kyle. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. I'd just say for me, I definitely agree. Typically, and if I go out there from time to time, I have my daughter with me. She's 9 and she loves the game, and so it is the quick grab usually for me after about 9 holes, right at that point, I'm hungry. So I run in there, grab a hot dog. I love, having the chips, a couple candy bars or something like that are always great. As far as expanding beyond that, I think that for me personally, anything that is more finger capable to be eaten works for me. So if it was wings, if it's just stuff that I don't, not if I gotta consume. I think anybody, if you've played, when you're done like a tournament and they do the box lunches, which are great, but it's really quite difficult, when you got the full thing and you're driving the cart and still trying to continue playing. So I like the items that, again, that I can just use my, my fingers real quick and eat like that.
Okay.
Oh, and drinks are always good. Yeah, that should never.
The concession opportunities go far beyond just the golfers, though. The conversation I've had with the folks in Lincoln, Nebraska and Aurora, Colorado, they make a lot of money for the golf division, and it's not from just golfer concessions. They're using their facilities in a fashion to raise money, to generate revenue. A good part of it in Lincoln is liquor. But they have a different operating model where the golf professionals are incentivized to sell stuff, but they're making $4 million a year. They're beyond us, and they have half the population, and they have 4 golf courses on their budget, just like us. Hey, Troy, the 5th course is not in their system. You've been gone too long, Troy. but Aurora makes $8 million a year. They have the same population base as us. But they do it, and talking to the pro, they make an effort to find a way to use the courses to generate income that makes golf possible. That's an opportunity for us down the road. I'm just would like to think as we go forward, we take a look at that.
Hey guys, is there anything we need to vote on? Because I got a call. I got to jump on. Is there anything you need me to vote on? I don't think we have anything, do we?
I don't foresee anything being.
Hey guys,
brought to
thanks.
the table.
Kyle and Nyle, great to meet you. Look forward to seeing you again.
Hey, you as well, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Greg. Troy, what are some of the obstacles, if you will, in terms of expanding our lunch and even dinner menu?
We've worked at doing that. This year, we didn't have any concession sales from when we opened up Mcdonald and Auburn Hills in April. We didn't start selling concessions again until Memorial Weekend, so we had 2.5 months we didn't sell any concessions. But as you noticed, when you look at the spreadsheet I sent this morning, our concession sales were up $12,000, even with that 2.5 months of no sales. I think that The hot dogs, I've worked at a couple different places, and brats, hot dogs, those are the things. Golfers want something when they walk in, they can grab it and go. It's got to be something that's handheld and it's easy to deal with. They don't want to have to carry a boat that's got fries in it or something. When we opened Auburn Hills, we had a much larger expanded menu pertaining to food and beverage. And as we kept track of what sold and what didn't, we reduced that menu back down to what people were looking for. And then we had a specific menu that we utilized for tournaments. We had boxed lunches. We had hamburgers and hot dog buffet. We had steaks that we barbecued for different tournaments. And so we when Auburn Hills first opened, we were playing. Second year we were open, we hosted over 35 events, shotgun tournaments that first year. So we did a lot of food and beverage business. But it still comes down to golfers want something that's convenient and it's quick. Now, when people get done, that's a little bit different. Now, like Niles mentioned, was the fried tacos that we had out at Auburn Hills. That was done specifically for the men's club or the senior league. But those were very time-consuming for people to put together and get ready for that when they came in on Wednesday. That's something that was difficult to do on a regular basis. So it's got to be something that we have. We don't have the capability in our clubhouses other than Auburn Hills to have a lot of different menu items. We have provided each one of the golf courses a grill, so they have the ability to grill hamburgers and grill hot dogs or brats outside or do some of those things and have hamburgers available inside. But that just comes down to the golf professionals scheduling their staff so they can make sure that gets done. And so they have some of those things prepped and in a holding dish that can be served as the golfers are making the turn. So, and we've done that. We had, as Shanna is a very good food and beverage person. That's what, out of college, she worked for 10 years as a general manager of food and beverage operations. The last one she worked for was Red Robin in Topeka. So she's very good at, she's done 2 years ago, we did a demo day for the golf pros in January where they all came over to sim. She utilized the equipment that they have in that clubhouse and they made sandwiches, they made hamburgers. She showed them how to put them together and serve them, and so they looked appealing rather than just a bun and a piece of meat thrown on it. But she showed them how to put the stuff together, make it look appealing. And then we tried to run some specials that spring. I think we had a breakfast special in April. We did something else in May. It was all done through our app where we sent out notifications and things that we were doing. And those were going to be items that moved into our regular routine of what we were selling. But the golf pros kind of, they did it for the month that we had to do it, and then they would quit because it was more time consuming in their mind than just selling a hot dog or a brat. So there are some things we can.
Troy, as mentioned earlier, the really markups and the way you make money is, I'm sorry, it's not in food, it's in soft drinks and alcohol, especially beer. And if you can create, there's so many people that leave our courses and go to pubs together to drink and reminisce over the round and watch sports on TV, and providing that type of atmosphere with free popcorn and some draft beer. I think you'd be shocked how much, even country clubs, how much money they make on beer versus all of the rest of their food items.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. That is a large part, but the problem is we don't have clubhouses that were designed for doing that. When you look at the clubhouse at Sim, that's other than Auburn Hills, that's the newest clubhouse that was built, and it is not designed with the kitchen capabilities to do those things. I don't know how much the previous golf professional had input on that. I really don't know. I wasn't here at the time, but you know, they had a lot of space that they could have actually put a full service kitchen in there, do some of those things. But I don't think that was what they wanted, and so it wasn't set up in that manner. And that's
turn it into a pub and serve and have a place for them to come and drink alcohol and have popcorn. It's cheap. It really doesn't cost that much.
You're
Sim is the only one that doesn't have the seating capacity. The other three have considerable seating capacity.
Yes, they do.
Sim would be the only one that if you had that as a hangout kind of model. Richard, I don't know, and a good day's traffic of golfers in and out of the clubhouse, would fill that room up and nothing flat. But yeah, as far as the other three courses, I think, you're right from the standpoint that you've got the capacity there. Just especially at Mcdonald, I don't know how much harder it'd be to put a draft in there. Draft Coke as you draft beer. Same for Tex, but I just don't see how you could get much going on out at Sim and have room for anybody.
Again, this is a great conversation, but when you look at the success stories, you go to Sand Creek and you see how he runs that operation. We played there a lot during the pandemic. He sold a lot of food outside. He would sell out. He had pulled pork, burgers, the exotic menu. He would sell it out every day. He makes it work. The same is true at some other places. If we would take the time perhaps to look at those who are successful in greater concession sales and model after that. We're just modeling after the same thing here. We don't pre-made sandwiches at Sim Park used to be there. There's no expense there. There's no work for the staff. You buy them, and you sell them, and if you there are opportunities. But again, I'm not an expert in it, but there are people who are expert, who have a track record of making money. And I'd like to think our marketing department would look for help to those who are doing it successfully so we can be the same. Are you willing to do that, Troy?
I have no problem with that.
But I mean, I'd like to see maybe a plan where you do maybe look at those places and what can we incorporate into our. Paul Apisa used to be the pro at Tex Consolver, and he told me when he was there, he sold burgers like crazy. Don Harrison had your job at the time, and he was almost upset that Paul did so well. There have been successes. At Auburn Hills, it's my understanding that the income from concessions was like 80 grand, 10 or 12 years ago. And now it's down to a tiny fraction of that. It's possible to do, but you need a plan. You need, and you think you need to look outside.
Concession sales at Auburn Hills last in 2019 was 100,000. In 2018, it was 109. If we go back to 2012, it was 177,000.
Are you talking net revenue?
Gross concession sales.
Those are gross concession sales.
Yeah.
I'm talking net.
We average about 35% margin,
Yeah.
35% cost of goods.
Okay.
Okay.
And part of the reason we did so well in 2012 is we hosted a lot of weddings, which that doesn't benefit the golfers, because when the golfers come in, we've got things set up for weddings in that clubhouse. And so we actually set tables up in the golf shop in order for them to be able to come in and sit down inside and have a drink and eat whatever they wanted. But we used a portion of the golf shop to accommodate that. We moved the golf shop around on those days to do that. We have a hard time hosting multiple events at Auburn Hills anymore, because in 2017 we were instructed to sell our overflow parking lot for housing. So those 5 lots that we owned there next to the pond on 10 Tee Box, we sold, and that was our overflow parking. So,
Hey, Eddie, before we run out of time, I had an expense question. If would allow us to move forward. I'd asked about the water expense at Mcdonald. That's a big concern for a lot of people. And I'm looking at the information that Emma sent me. We spent about $80,000 more on water last year than the previous year. Are we budgeted that for that again this year? And how do we plan to meet the water needs at Mcdonald?
So you're talking about 2020? Is that what you're talking about?
2019 water service was 47,000. 2020 was 116,000. It's my understanding that McDonald went on the city water supply because the local ponds were insufficient, and that was an incredible expense. I assume that's what's on the table for next year.
The only reason we ended up at the end of June, we didn't have much rain through October. And so the ponds went dry, yes, but that's why we have the ability to use city water if need be. If you go back and look at previous years, I don't think our water budget exceeded $35,000 to $40,000. So I think that was an anomaly. We have asked last year, we put together a plan that we took and presented to the budget office, requesting funds to improve the ponds, fix the weir, and to refix the valves and that are leaking on some of those retention ponds. And when it got to the budget office, they took it and pulled it out of the CIP plan. They said that's golf and they don't get any CIP money. So
I know I've heard the First Tee folks say the ponds are no longer usable, that the water supply is, that it's going to take a major capital improvement to make those a feasible part of the water supply.
All it takes is money, Dale. That's why we need to have a good.
Well, but here's a problem, Troy. That was a great idea, but you didn't take it to anybody. Should have been a golf advisory committee priority for your plan to improve the water system at McDonald Park. This should be something that should be on our agenda, and there should be an agenda before us right now as to what are your capital improvement objectives for the coming year.
This is a
otherwise we just need to be relevant.
We started working on in 2014. Richard has been involved in it. We've taken it to the park board. We've taken it to council. It's been discussed with numerous people. It's been discussed with the city manager. And
I've never seen it on the GAC agenda, and I've been coming to these meetings for 3 years now.
That's why I said we worked on this in 2014 and 2015.
And we took it to everybody, and
okay.
And the bottom line is, this is why hopefully when we start generating and we can show we can outpace last year's budget, we can start looking about financing some of the improvements against the revenue.
Well, and a related question, with 470,000 in the black, are we going to be a part of the process of deciding how we spend that money?
We also need $250,000 is what budget is estimated in order to get through the first quarter of 2021 without going negative. So we know that part of that money will be earmarked to get us through the first quarter of the year. Normally the month of December, we lose about $100,000. That's just that's normal business for the month of December. So we're probably going to lose part of that in the month of December as well. So what we are in the black right now is great, but we're going to need that money to get through the first part of the year and not go negative, so then we can build on that. And then as Richard has asked me last week, was when will we start looking at some of the projects and things we can do to improve golf. We'll start looking at that probably after and into the second quarter of the year, when we know where we're at the end of the first quarter.
So that's a plan that we're going to all see at some point. I mean, I'm glad Richard's working on it, but will this be brought to the group?
Yes.
Okay. One last thing, Councilman Claycomb at this council meeting, when you made your presentation, Mr. Hauptman, and said we were in the black 140,000, she said, well, have we made a debt service payment? And the answer was, we haven't made a debt service payment for 3 years. We really need to get rid of that $5 million albatross that's hanging over the Gulf Division. It makes no sense. Sand Creek is being paid for by the property tax valuation increases in the housing around it exclusively. There's a lot across the street from the 9th tee box at Auburn Hill, an empty lot that's going up for sale for $350,000. Mr. Ferris told me that when they opened that development, lot sold for $15,000 to $30,000. The city has made so much money off of Auburn Hills. That's ridiculous. For them to keep hanging this $5 million on us is ridiculous. I know it's been a dead horse we've been beating a long time, but we need to get that off the table. Now that Nile's here representing Ms. Claycomb, I'm sure he can take that to her and get her to maybe make a move to just strike it from the books. We're not making a payment, but it becomes an impediment to the future.
Sure, and that's when, you know, I've made presentations to council and not necessarily in the council meetings, but in workshops regarding the system where we're at. And I've asked them to forgive the debt service, and they never react to it.
Well, could I make a request that either you or finance put together a description of the property tax increase revenue in Auburn Hills over this lifespan, just to demonstrate? I know that the first, $8 million was by policy was paid for from the increased valuation. We overspent at Auburn by $5 million, and that wasn't covered. But that $5 million has been generated. It would be useful to have that put in front of a council member and say, you've already got your money, and have that. But you need the evidence to show it. You need something that demonstrates that. Can that be done, perhaps?
That was one of when we had these discussions in prior years. Mayor Longwell at the time, he made that point clear that Auburn Hills has brought in far more tax revenue than what we owe, and that we should look at forgiving it. He made that point numerous times.
But nobody ever made a motion to relieve it. Okay.
It sounds like what we need to do is, I support Dale on this. I just think it's absolutely wrong for the city to, because you know they're going to start to grab that money if we show a surplus before we can do anything with it. So I'm all for bending the ear of some of the council members, and if we can come up with a plan, I would be glad to join you.
Well, I think if I could, I think that is the essence of what this discussion is about. Troy, I empathize with you when you keep taking this back to the city manager, the city council, and you don't get any kind of sense of urgency on their part to address this issue. But I wonder if perhaps that's something that we need to recognize as a committee and work individually with our own council members and the mayor for them to try and take a hard look at this. I think, Troy, sounds like you've tried many times. Is there anything that you think that this committee could do individually that would be helpful in moving that forward?
I think that visiting with your park board representatives, and then the two of you contacting your council members would be helpful. Yes.
Which two of us?
Pardon me?
Which two of us?
You and your park board representative.
Oh, I see. Okay, I got you.
You've been appointed by Ty, I believe.
Well,
right.
how about
I
the idea
understand what you mean. Yeah.
They hear from both.
If we had a motion,
Right.
if we had a something that we voted on, and that literally says that this is the way we think it should go, and that should be removed, and send it up, and then we have something to call our council members on to literally say, please vote for this, and try to generate those votes. But we have to have something to start it with, and I think it needs to come from this committee.
Well, and I think that having the big number would be the thing that sells the argument. If we showed them, here's the amount of property tax value increase you've enjoyed over this period of time. I know it's got to be exponentially more than the cost of this golf course. And that development relies on the golf course for its value. You close that golf course, you'd have some angry people. So having that number is a good entry point to talk to a council member and justify striking this number from the book. This is not a budgeted amount that the manager is going to spend. It's just a number on the budget. Mayor Longwell called it paper money. I'm not sure what he meant with that, but he implied that it's really not a real value. It's just something on the books.
But if we took that, and again, it's having a plan, being able to show them that the committee voted on it, considering all of the information and the fact that the city has made it, we voted on it. Then you're taking something to your council member that is substantive, that you're saying, will you please ask the council to vote on this recommendation by the golf committee? And it's, if there's no council member that's going to take this up on their own and run with it.
I totally agree, Richard, but I need that number in hand to do that. I think that sells it, that it's a done deal. There's no sacrifice by the city in doing it. But I totally agree with you. That's a plan to move forward with.
And Dale, when Martin Manning's now our director of finance, when he was our senior budget analyst, I asked him for that number because the golf committee had asked before, and he told me there was no way that he could come up with what that number was.
Oh, there's a way. I can go to the county website and add up the numbers for that subdivision. That's not a hard thing to do. And maybe it's just by certain examples as well. That home next to that empty $350,000 lot's a $2 million home at least. And that plays out across Auburn Hills, particularly this year. I think the city is going to have an embarrassment of riches when the property tax numbers come in and the tax lid kicks in.
When Greg Ferris was part of the council at the time when Auburn Hills started, he said that the numbers that were put together was they anticipated that the median house that would sell out there would be around $150,000 to $175,000. That might be what it was when they first were being built, but in the last, even from up until 2010, I mean, the houses were being sold were closer to $250,000 to $300,000, and it's just gone up from there. So you're right. I mean, we've brought in a ton of sales tax money. Highland Springs wasn't even there when Auburn Hills started. That whole development wasn't there. So I mean, there's a lot of development that's taken place because of that golf course being out there.
Right, and the actual number that they were using was 140,000, and the average cost of the value, the tax value of the property up there is almost 3 times that.
Troy, could I ask, would it be appropriate, and could you invite somebody from the finance department to attend the next golf committee meeting?
Sure.
And explain to us either why they are unable to look into that and come up with that number, or help us get our arms around how we go about getting that value. But I think having one of those representatives here would be, again, another step forward in working within the city to highlight the committee's interest in this subject.
I will have Mr. Houtman visit with Elizabeth Goultry. That's who we've been working with. We've gone through 3 budget analysts this year. They've all left and gone to work elsewhere. So we're back to working with Elizabeth. She's the senior budget analyst, so I'll have him visit. Well,
we can start with what we can work with, and if we can get one of them to come up here and sit down and say,
she's been with the city for quite a while, so she would be very knowledgeable.
Yeah. When is our next meeting, by the way?
On that note, that's what I was going to bring up. Do we have a schedule for 2021?
We're going to send something out. And if we need to schedule something in between, we are more than capable of doing that.
I think that probably,
Would you rather wait until January 26th or ask for a special meeting before that?
I think a special meeting's in order. I think the 6-week schedule is insufficient given the expanding agenda and the major issues on the table. We need to meet at least monthly in this particular period of time. I don't know if Nyle and Kyle are aware of I'm sure if they read the news releases, they are, that the proposal to transfer the ownership or the control of the clubs to First Tee is on the table. And we have to address that at some point. Meeting every 6 weeks will be insufficient to do that. So I think a special meeting early in January would be useful.
You want us to look at it?
We could limit the agenda item so that we don't get caught up in a long discussion or waste and get distracted from the important issue of setting a goal of trying to eliminate that debt. Invite the finance committee, put that as the only item on the agenda. And at that time, Richard, maybe we could get enough of us in attendance, we could have a unanimous vote on the issue.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
You want to look at something like January 12th for that special meeting?
That's what I had in mind.
Yep.
2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
Is that sufficient time to?
The holidays here and people being off work and those things. So.
Sure.
Is the park board?
What's that, Dale?
I was just wondering if we could meet before the next park board meeting, so whatever we do could be advanced to the park board as well. I don't know what the park board date is for January.
Probably January the 11th, I would guess.
So maybe we could meet the week before instead. So if there's something we advance, we could get it done in a timely fashion, get it to the park board. Otherwise, it's set back 3 weeks before they ever see it.
No problem with the 5th.
What date did you say the park board meets, Dale?
I was just looking on my calendar here to try to figure that out.
It's typically the second Monday of every month, so that would fall on January 11th.
11th, yeah. So perhaps at January 7th, 6th or 7th for this GAC meeting?
7th works for me.
Okay, that works.
Good.
Work.
That work for you, Roland? Okay.
Nobody can sub for you.
Oh, I agree with that, but you know.
By the
Okay.
way, I want the committee to know how much I appreciate this young lady's help today when I was trying to figure out how to be a part of this meeting. She was able to walk me through the process and got me here. I want to thank you for it. Good job.
Rowan, could you send out the meeting schedule for the next year to all of us that is presented right now? And then we'll plan on.
If you doubt Nyle Gilmore's commitment, I have a picture of Nyle, me, and 2 other golfers on a January day at Sim Park. Ned Goyne was the pro, took the picture. It was 19 degrees when we teed off. It was 19 degrees when we finished on 18. So he's paid his dues.
I am going to have to get off now, so nice
Yeah.
seeing everybody.
Okay.
Right, I'm off. Thank you, Eddie.
Yep. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Yep. Second.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good day.
See you guys.